Good morning. Welcome to Mulligan Physical Therapy channel. This morning I wanted to talk to you about golfing and some simple stretches that you can do to maintain your game and enjoy what you've been doing all summer. I know a lot of you golfers out there have been excited to get back out on the courses once things started opening. It's been a hot few weeks lately, but I know personally I treat a fair amount of golfers. Some of them are real diehards, some of them are real hackers. With a name like Mulligan, you would think I'd be out on the course all the time. I do love to golf, but unfortunately I don't get out very often, so I am not that good, but I do love to get out. So I always joke whenever I play that I am allowed at least 3, maybe 4 mulligans per 9. So if you ever play with me, at least you know I get some extra shots there. And I could use it. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a few simple stretches. Those of you that have back problems, hip problems, sometimes knee problems, that are trying to get out on the course, that are trying to continue to golf as much as you possibly can because you love the sport, I understand that. Some of you that have back issues that are stopping you from golfing because of the back issue, I also understand that. I currently have a few patients here that are trying to get back on the course. They've had some back issues in the past. They're trying to make their way back out there. Sometimes mobility is what stops us. We don't have the flexibility for the swing. If we don't have that flexibility, then we need to modify what we're doing and how we're going through the mechanics of our swing, which is going to require sometimes more hip, sometimes more knee motion, sometimes more shoulder or upper body motion. So when you're lacking mobility in one area or the other, you have to make up for it in some other way because our bodies are amazing at compensating. So whether that's a good compensation or a bad compensation, it compensates regardless. So as far as the upper body, same thing applies there. If you're having a shoulder issue, if you're having tendonitis in your elbow, those kinds of conditions can really affect your swing, how you're gripping the club, and ultimately how your game is played out. So I wanted to just go over a few simple things to do for general stretching. Now again, I will say this, that not everybody will benefit from this. Certain stretches may make things hurt a little bit worse than others. So in general, most of these stretches are fairly safe, but I would say if you start to try any of these stretches, just go through them slowly and see how the first couple do. If you're not doing too well with the first couple of stretches, then it may not be the best stretch for you. So they're not for everybody, but hopefully for the general population, you can maintain some benefit from them. So the nice part about when you're out on the course is you have a wonderful little device to help you stretch. You actually got a whole bunch of them in a bag. So utilize them because they're worth it. And for some people who already are doing these things, great. What I would recommend also is that if you are golfing, it's one of those things where you just go out and say, oh, I'm going to hit 9 holes, I'm going to hit 18 holes, play for 4 hours, play for 2.5 hours, whatever it takes. But most of us don't realize that stretching is a big part of what we should be doing in any activity. So for the weekend warriors that are going out, sitting around at a desk all day long, all week long at work, and then decide to go out and perform in an activity, whether it's recreation sports, whether it's just a golf outing, your body's not used to those movements because you don't do them that often. Those of you who are golfing every day or 2 or 3 times a week, and you're fortunate enough to do that, you also are still at risk of injury if you're not properly stretching things out. So just keep in mind that stretching is a really good thing for most people. Some people are super flexible that they don't really need a whole lot of stretching, but the general population that doesn't really account for. So as far as the stretching goes, I'm sure some of these will look very familiar to some of you that have been on the course and have seen this. So there's a few simple back stretches that you could do that also involve the arms. So take any club, reach overhead. You could just twist side to side this way to stretch out the upper back, the arms, the shoulders, back and forth to each side this way. Keeping the club in your hands, you can now twist left and right, overhead, to still get a twisting motion, twisting stretch, so you can help with your follow through and your swing. You can also just take this club and reach forward now to stretch out your upper back and shoulders, so it's going to look a little bit more like this. Simple, easy stretch. Again, most stretches I recommend to most people is starting with a simple 5-second hold. It's really not that much to do, but it's enough to start to get the muscles to stretch out and elongate. Those of you that count really fast, I've never been a big fan of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because now you just basically did a 2-second hold. So if you're a really quick counter, then I would recommend definitely starting out at 10 or 15-second holds, because then you might actually get a 10-second hold in there. So ultimately, you want to go up. The longer you hold the stretch, the better the stretch becomes. Also, the longer you hold the stretch, the less of them you have to do. So if you get to a point where you're doing 15, 30-second holds, maybe even 45-second hold, you're really only doing like 2 or 3 of those stretches because you're holding it for that much longer. If you're doing a 5, 10, or 15-second hold, you can still do, 5 or 10 of those in a row to really continue to get the stretch going on those areas. So that's a couple stretches to do with that. The other one you can do is simply rotate side to side this way, which again, I know a lot of you have done this stretch probably before. Back and forth, same thing, 5-second hold over here, 5-second hold over here. So the club is a great tool to be able to use. Those of you that have some shoulder issues, another simple shoulder stretch you can do, and again, this is really dependent upon what your shoulder's doing. A lot of people that have painful shoulders, the rotations of their shoulder is a very difficult or painful thing to go through, so this may not work very well for them. If you don't have any shoulder issues, you're just looking to stretch things out, you can take the club, take your hand, I would do this on both sides, pull that arm up behind you like this, again, hold for 5, 10-second hold and back down. You can switch and do the same thing on the other side. The other one you could do is take the club behind your back, and you can also do a rotation here, back and forth. The good part about this is you're also getting a little bit of stretch across the shoulder rotator as you come back to hold the club in this position versus over your head. So now that you're here, you're rotating side to side to get a little bit more upper and lower back into your swing. So there's lots and lots of different stretches that I could go through. I wanted to keep it kind of simple. We can get the hips involved, we can get the legs involved, we can get the calves involved. Pretty much every part of your body is going to be working when you're going through your swing and your mechanics. And it really is dependent upon what your swing looks like as far as what aspects of your body need to be stretched a little bit more than others, because we all have a unique swing. So again, the hips can be stretched out pretty well too. But another simple thing I wanted to talk about with the back is a couple things. One is for those of you that have back problems, going down to get your ball out of the cup, hopefully in the cup, not somewhere else in the rough. Most of us will lean down and do that golfer stretch where we kick the back leg out, we reach down and grab the ball. So for your back, that's actually a safer option than just bending straight over and then coming back up. Because again, all that effort and all that gravity and all that force on your spine as you come back up is really where your back can get injured. So by doing the classic golfer's reach, kicking the leg back behind you, bending down, and again, you want to almost squat down with that leg to reach down to the ground to get the ball, is a much better, safer option for you to collect the ball if you can. If you don't have that much mobility, then you might need to reach out to one of your friends you're hitting with and have them help you get the ball. Another simple stretch that you can do for your back, which I think is a really good thing to do throughout the course of how you're playing, again, whether you do 9 holes or 18 holes, things stiffen up, and I know a lot of people will kind of start out stiff, and what happens is their body naturally will loosen up as we're going through the motion consistently and constantly back and forth. Our muscles will start to loosen up. So some people that start out stiff actually start playing a little bit better by hole 3, 4, 5. And then again, if our back and legs are getting fatigued, we start to stiffen up again, maybe towards like 15, 16, 17 holes. So in those cases, that's why it's good to continue to stretch throughout them. So I'm not saying you have to stretch at every hole, but if you try to stretch a little bit, even a couple arm stretches that I showed with the club, maybe every 3 or 4 holes, especially those of you that are a little bit stiffer, and you know who you are, that might make it tougher to get through your round, then I would definitely recommend do a few simple stretches. Doesn't take much time. You can stand at the tee box and do it. You can stand at the cart when you're waiting for your turn to tee off. It doesn't take much time at all. One of the other good stretches that I find is a seated back stretch. And again, this is a nice, safe, easy way to stretch your back. For those of you that are riding around in carts and not walking, the cart is a simple, easy way to be able to do this stretch. So if you were to sit in your cart, you can simply reach across the dashboard on the cart, Stretch your hands across the dashboard so you're in contact with it as you stretch forward. Again, another good 5-10 second hold, and then come back up. If you're not riding around in a cart and you guys are walking, if there is any benches around, you can do the same thing. Have a seat in the bench and reach both hands straight out in front of you. Trying to stretch out your lower back. Tuck the head down. It's a really good lower back stretch, and just come back up slowly from that position. When you don't have anything to contact your hands in, your back does have to work a little bit harder, so that's why the dashboard is a really good thing to do to slide your hands on. But if you don't have that, just reach out and then slowly come back up. So just a few things to talk about as far as golf, as far as stretching. Love to share anything more with you, so if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the boxes below. And I'd love you to subscribe and like our channel. So thanks for reaching out, thanks for watching, and enjoy your game of golf.